Hi everyone, I'm Coach Joel, and today I have a crazy hand analysis video for you where things go absolutely off the rails in a 3-bet pot. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this.
I am the small blind, and I have king queen of spades. There's a bet out there for we're playing. It's 2-5 game. There's a
Yep.
bet out there for 30, a call for 30, and it comes to me.
Okay.
I'm in the small blind.
This is a familiar spot.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those where I'm like, okay, this is definitely a raising hand if I'm in the cutoff or the button with the small blind and a bet and a call and out there and a big blind to come yet. I'm not quite sure what to do with that hand.
Yeah, again, I base a lot of my decision on the opening razor. How tight is their range? Do we have a decent amount of fold equity here?
The bet and the call are pretty tight players.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the default like book play here is to squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can get like a decent amount of ace X to fold or weak pairs to fold, which is a big win for your hand. And in theory, like if you had an aggressive player in the big blind, the worst thing you could do is like flat here and then give him the opportunity to squeeze you.
Which
So
I do, and he is.
okay, so I think these things would argue towards squeezing. If you had a more the times I would flat would be like if the opening razor had a very tight range, like top 10% of hands, plus the big blind was very passive, so I didn't have to worry about a squeeze.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
I
You squeeze? Okay.
I squeezed at 110. Could have probably done a little bit higher.
Yeah, again, so let's come back to our sizings here. So in position, when we three bet, we go 3x plus one for every caller in the middle.
Yeah.
Out
So
of position,
it could have
out
been
of position. Sorry.
120. I
Well, we
made
got
it
a caller in the middle though, so I would have gone 150.
three.
Right? I go from out of position. We are out of position now. We don't go 3x from out. We go 4x from out plus one for every caller.
Okay. So then that's more like 150.
Yeah, so that's going to make a big difference and give you quite a bit more fold equity.
All right. Well, I didn't do that. So
Okay.
there's number one.
Okay.
I bet 110. The big blind calls,
Holy smokes. Okay.
and the other two fold.
This is bizarre. Right.
Okay, whatever.
The big blind is not anybody who does this in the big blind spot is not a good player. So we have to treat this like they're just like a sloppy wreck player.
And he is. He was. It was
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah. So like when a player does this, I never give them like aces or kings here.
Nope.
But like they can have a range that looks something like this. Like they're too stubborn with their pocket pairs. They don't want to cold four bet queens, so they still have queens. They have these suited Broadway hands. They've got ace king, ace queen. These are the types of hands. And like occasionally you'll have a kind of a special type player that like is loose enough to cold call like a suited ace below this or like a 10-9 suited, but this is usually the range I see that cold calls here.
Okay. So there's 280 in the pot.
Okay. What are
And
the stack sizes?
He has like around 800,
Okay.
and mine's a little higher than that.
Yeah.
And
So what's the board?
the board is king 9-8.
King 9-8. What are the suits?
They're all over the board, and it becomes irrelevant.
It's rainbow. It's like this.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean you're gonna continuation bet here. This is interesting for sure.
Right. And if it's three, and I want to do it over and here, and I don't know if I want to do this over 2 streets or 3 streets at this point.
Yeah.
But my mentality is usually to, like, get it over it quicker. Right. So if I'm indecisive on 2 streets or 3 streets, I will generally pick the 2 street path.
Okay. So if we wanted to do 2 streets, what size would we use?
80%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think my default on this board, just given it's kind of it's a dry board, and like I don't know how much stuff in my opponent's range is going to call two huge bets in a row. I might have done this over three and choose the 45% sizing, but I can't fault you too much. So I like that you were thinking in these terms. So I'm assuming,
I didn't go that much. I didn't
oh,
go.
you didn't. You went about half instead?
No, I went like 150, a little over half.
Yeah, okay, basically. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world.
And he raised.
Wow. Okay, that changes things
Yeah.
because this is a very underbluffed spot.
Okay.
Let's go through these, you know, the data here. What hands did you think he could be raising you with? And what,
Um,
by the way,
I,
what was his raise to? How big was it?
a min raise.
To 300?
Yeah, because he only had about 800 left at this point. He must
Oh yeah.
a little bit more than that. He must have been around 1,000. So he
Yeah.
to 300, and of course, I think he could have ace king.
He can here. Yeah, players can cold call with that, even though they shouldn't.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
Yep. I do believe he could have any of the he could have a set of nines or a set of eights.
Yep, absolutely.
Uh-huh. I believe possibly this nutbag could have had 10 jack.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 10 jack suited his primary bluff. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could have that. And he can, he could have had tens or jacks or queens.
Okay, so that's where I disagree. I don't think those hands are going to raise you here. They're just going to call.
Oh yeah,
Um,
on the board. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, true.
yeah, the top pair, the one interesting thing to me, and this is kind of where my decision would get made. If we look at top pair,
I also
put
thought the way he could have had king, queen, or king, jack.
that's exactly what I was going to ask you. So king, queen, king, jack, king 10 suited.
Mm-hmm.
Could a player like this make a min raise to quote unquote like find out where he's at? That type of thinking. So I think he could.
Yeah, I do too.
So I'd be thinking top pair set or open ender like the Jack 10 suited. So his range gets real narrow real quick.
Okay.
We can't go anywhere just yet because our pot odds are absurdly good.
Yeah, no,
So,
I just
so
called.
you just called. Now here's the thing. Here's what I'd be looking for on the turn. So if we get a brick turn, most players are not going to just like insta shove in king 10 or king jack or king queen. They're just not going to.
Mm-hmm.
So what changes on a blank is those medium hands that we really needed for our equity to be this good stop betting. So now when we face that second bet, we're in a lot of trouble. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What do we get on the turn?
An 8.
Okay, so total brick. And now what happens?
I check,
Yep.
and he bets 200.
This is such an annoying hand. He's giving you such good pot odds. I just don't think King Jack and King 10 are betting here again. And I don't think does Jack 10 really bet small here again? Or
I
would it
don't.
just take a
I
free
think.
card?
I think your straight draw is gone with the paired board.
I agree. This is the problem, Colin. I think King Jack's gone, King 10 gone, Jack 10 gone. Like we just don't see player population play like this.
Right.
I don't even know if King Queen bets this again because he's got to be worried you have Ace King or Aces.
Mm-hmm.
So this is such a sick spot, but I think we're gonna find we're up against one of these three hands like 90% of the time.
Okay.
What'd you decide to do?
I called.
I mean, you're getting great pot odds. The problem is against a range of Ace King nines and eights, we have 8% equity.
I know. I mean, yeah.
So we have to. I think if we call here, we have to identify what do we think he's betting here that we are in good shape against.
Yeah, and that's I feel like my biggest problem in my game is the question you just asked,
Yeah.
I have a hard time asking myself in the moment
Okay. Yeah.
to this day. Like
I
I
see.
seem to get out of whatever that thinking mode is, or that analyzing mode is. Maybe it's because I think I gotta act quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but
To find a way to slow ourselves down, like in these moments, kind of we're coming back to like the body scan meditation, just making sure we're very rooted in our bodies as this is happening. Because if we're not, our minds are going to be going a million times an hour with just like all the emotion of the hand.
yeah,
So just being real, very rooted. And when he makes the bet, I think finding a way to remember to take like 3 conscious breaths before you make your action is going to be really important, to just break up to almost force yourself to slow down with some conscious breathing after the action comes in, because that'll force you to consider his range. If you just default to your own hand strength, you're always going to call here. This is a tough spot because he's giving you such good pot odds. But what's so annoying about this is it's going to set up absurdly good pot odds on the river as well against a range that appears to crush us. The other thing is players that are bad players. These are the types of players that just like lock in on us having one hand. They think, oh, I put this guy in ace king, that type of thinking. So here's the thing: when a board comes king high or ace high and they play back at you, they're not doing it as a bluff nearly often enough. They might once in a while, but most of the time they're thinking, I got this guy. This is my chance to crack his ace king and take him to value town.
that's what I think, and that's what I think he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you called. What's the river?
An ace.
Yeah, I mean we just don't beat anything unless he did something bizarre with Jack 10.
So here comes the problem.
Yeah.
I bet into him. I thought.
Oh.
I think if I was behind, I can get him to fold.
Fold what though?
And whatever the hell he has. What he has, I think I can get him to fold. I'm sure he doesn't. Eight. I'm sure he doesn't. I don't really think he has ace king.
Why?
I think
just a second ago we thought he could have ace king.
I mean, I did, but if I'm remembering the moment, I think sometimes maybe I just get away from thinking that. I'm like, I just don't think this guy has ace king.
Yeah.
Because I think the original there was a raiser, and here's the other thing. I think there was 2 tight guys that one raised and one called. Okay, so I have a tendency to go, well, there's probably some ace and kings that are in the muck, and I've got a king. So I don't know how likely it is he has an ace or a king. So I add up other things, right?
What else could he have? Like what else? What would take this action from him and now fold to your bets? Like what hand could he have that will now fold?
King, queen, king, jack.
But okay, but here's the thing: we thought on the turn he'd stop betting those because he'd be worried about.
Told me we thought that. I don't think that in the moment.
Okay, I see. So you thought in the moment you can fold him off a chop. Even if we could, here's the other thing. So say he could I'll grant you, say he could have king queen or king jack. Let's say he has 4 combos of those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that would be 4 combos we fold off a chop on the plus side of this bet. The minus side is that 10 combos we dump money into.
Yeah, I mean, I know in hindsight it's not the right bet. I feel like I'm letting emotion get in the mix.
I think so.
And that's what I think I did wrong.
Yeah, and I think this happens to everybody.
But
this is so common.
Does not snap call.
He doesn't snap call.
Into the tank. He's grilling with questions. He's just, he's like, oh my God, did you really catch it? Did you really have ace king? Did you catch that?
Oh, geez, he did something really weird in this hand outside our assumptions.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's a strange hand because it's a min raise and it's a small bet on the turn. And I'm like, I don't think he's that confident. And so I am taking more into account, I think sometimes on an emotional level or on a feeling level sometimes than I am the math level. And
Okay.
I watch that.
Well, you're the one with access to the live reads too, so I understand it. And by the way, I know why you do this because this ace on the river play has worked for you in the past. So you feel confident turning your hand into a bluff on a card like this.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. There are very few hands I'm comfortable bluffing at this point.
Mhm.
And I feel like this is, you know, you say you got to have some bluffs. This feels like one where to me, it feels like a bluff opportunity, even though it's a strong hand.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with turning a strong hand into a bluff. The part that makes it a tough opportunity for bluff is we thought the majority of his range was ace, king, eights, or nines. So what we have to it becomes a bluffing opportunity if there are enough medium strength things in his range that will fold.
I think he's got a set of nines. I don't think he's got quad eights. I don't think he has ace king.
Yeah, so like what does he have? Yeah, so we're suddenly now reconsidering whether he did something weird with the king, like
What?
king, queen, king, jack, king 10.
He flips his cards over.
Okay.
It says, I got top two.
He has ace king. He really does have ace king.
Got king. He goes, I had top two. He's got king nine. And it's one of the hands that's going to beat me.
This is the only hand that this like could ever work against. Like if he calls with king nine here, we know that we just have no bluffing opportunity at all against this guy. This hand has to work against this hand.
Right.
Come on, tell me he folds.
He didn't. He called.
What?
I know.
How does he call?
I don't know. I mean, I
What does
don't
he
know.
think you have?
I don't know. And here's the thing.
You never have this.
Like, he's like, do you really? He goes, he turns the two cards over. He says, I had top two. And what I should have said, and I thought, I don't ever talk at this point. I just kind of went, like that. You know what I mean? That's all I did. And it's all I ever do. It's kind of the same movement. But what I should have said is, whether you call me or you fold, top two is going to win this hand. If I do that, I think he folds because he thinks I have ace king.
You could have showed him a king.
And it would have been the truth. Because if he top two wins, and if he, if
he might not think on that level though. He might misunderstand your riddle and call.
That's not
it. I can't even begin to fathom what he thought you had to be able to call with king nine here.
I don't either.
It's one of these deals where a player like this, they get attached, like his 2/3 of his stack is in the middle, and he's just attached to like he had a good hand before and now he's frustrated and he doesn't have the discipline to release it.
Yeah, and when he called and he showed, I showed, he's like, oh my God. Oh, he goes like this. He goes, that's the scariest call I've ever had to make. And I'm like, okay, whatever.